This is the beginning of something exciting. We are going live. We didn't tell anybody we were doing this, but we're going to start going and doing the show live on Wednesdays at 10 a.m., which is very fun. And then on the back of this, at 11 a.m., we're going to do the new SDR Service Drive Revolution Academy, where we're going to be teaching you how to run a successful service department. It is a community, but it's a membership site, so it's something you have to subscribe to. We've priced it so anybody can afford it. If you want to invest in yourself or get better and learn tools, or just be inside of our community and make some new friends that are kicking butt and taking names, this is the place to do it. So you'd want to go to chriscollinsinc.com and purchase on demand. That's how you get in there. But our thought process, Adam, Hogi, and myself, is that we will do SDR at 10. We will take a 10-minute break, and then we will go live in the membership side on Zoom and do the Academy starting at 11. We're doing the Academy currently every other week, but there's going to be a bonus coming up where I'm going to start doing the other week. So it'll be every week, and teaching leadership and personal development in between. Because we kind of think that you need a week to apply the things that you learn.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
But the personal development side and all that will help you with that. So we're going to try to build this for effect for you to get the most out of it.
I think there's an important 1-2 punch with that, right? Like a lot of times we talk about it being the art and science, and the art being people, leadership, like stuff like that. And if you spend too much time on that, you get a little glassy-eyed because you're like,
it's a lot
dealing with all your childhood trauma. And then if you are looking at financials for too long, you get that paralysis by analysis thing. And so I think it's a great 1-2 punch to be able to set it up to go back and forth like that. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah. So as we're doing this, people will be coming into the membership community Zoom, the Service Drive Academy, and maybe sometimes we'll bring those people onto the show and they can ask questions. So if you ever wanted to ask a question, you're going to need to be in the membership site. Today, what Hogi's going to be teaching is basically the intro to what everybody's going to be learning and how it's going to work, and then the mindset that you need. And then you're going to kind of touch on financials a little bit too, right?
Yeah. Maybe assign a little bit of homework, and and just kind of talk about the spirit of who we are and what we want to deliver through this new SDR Academy.
And I think we have like almost 300 people signed up. I don't know if all of those people will show up, but they clicked and said that they reserved their spot. So it'll be really, really fun. So if you're not in our coaching group or our on demand, I would go to chriscollinsinc.com and click on demand, purchase that. It'll get you in there. And like I said, we've priced this so any manager who wants to invest in themselves, because unfortunately a lot of companies don't invest in their people, especially when it comes to fixed ops. Sales training is sexy, but fixed ops is kind of the afterthought, unfortunately. You can do it for yourself, which, if you knew how much I spend on myself every year in improving in personal development, you would be surprised. I stopped adding it up. I asked the accountants the other day, I'm like, how many books did I buy on average a month?
You don't
it's a big
know.
Number. It's a very big
You're
number.
expensive, but you're worth it.
Yeah. It's funny. So we are lucky enough that Hogi and Adam are here in the office because we have our new client boot camp this week, and we're doing a bunch of other stuff together, but we will either be doing it together when everybody's here in the office, or we will be doing it remotely from different locations. But we have the ability for everybody to be together in one place, and it'll be fun. So even if, we're on the road, like we're going to be in Indiana, we're still planning on doing it from Indiana.
We'll take the show on the road if we have to.
Yeah. So we'll actually be in some truck centers in Indiana piloting something, and we're gonna do the show. It'll be really fun. We've had a fun couple days. We've gone out every night. so far this week. So
Yeah.
You're
Monday,
welcome. You're welcome.
yeah,
It's all Adam's fault.
That's what I
for
heard.
sure.
He set it all up.
Oh my gosh, I haven't been drinking at all, and then Monday, I don't know what I was thinking
You were having fun.
until it wasn't. The next day, it wasn't fun. It's hilarious. So today I wanted to kind of talk about lessons that I've learned. I've been telling my story, and we talked about starting to fix dealerships and that sort of journey. But there's some things that have stood out to me over the 35 years of doing this that feel like, in a way, they are unrealized by the general public, but very true from our point of view, or from the reality that we exist in, to the point where people will argue it, but it doesn't change the fact that it almost feels like some of these things are like the law of nature. And I'm sharing these things because I believe that people want to get better and they want to learn. But I also understand that a lot of people are going to hear some of the things I'm going to say, and they're just going to shut down because it's too much reality for them. They don't want to live in that reality. And I apologize for that. That's not my intention, but I do love these sort of deeper intellectual conversations. I love talking about getting better. I love human behavior and psychology. And so if that's not for you, I apologize. But I'm always trying to improve and get better and learn and try to, understand from our point of view, how can we create better training, better environments for people to grow and get better also. And so it's, we have to lead by example. We have to practice what we preach, which we definitely do, but that's a part of it. And so there's quite a few things that stick out to me that don't seem like most people understand them, but really are a reality in our industry. And our industry is so different than other industries. It really is. Like, it's just it's a funny thing that you have these businesses that would stand on their own inside of a business.
Yeah.
It's doesn't exist in a lot of other places. And I mean, I've tried to figure it out in that way. Also too, like, we have been different in the industry in that we're really trying to fix things. We're not trying to be experts or consultants. And it's funny, Adam got to sit in on a call, but I told one of our sales guy who had a dealer losing money in a couple franchises in a bigger metro market, and just me looking at the numbers and looking at what it is, I was like, hey, I really want to talk to this dealer before we would offer to sign them up, because this is going to be a hard one. And if the dealer isn't our type, it's not going to work. And sure enough, I get on with this dealer, and the dealer tells me, so granted, this guy, he's booked out over a week. So booked out appointments over a week. He has a brand that's a pretty tricky brands that are a little tricky in a metro market where, let's say, you're downtown, like you're landlocked. And he proceeds to tell me that what he needs us to train his advisors. And I'm like, listen, like, if we doubled your sales by training your advisors, you would implode worse than you're imploding right now.
Yep.
And the fact that you don't understand that or see that, and and then he's like, it's just funny. And so at the end of the thing, it's like, you're not a fit for us. Like, we have very limited time to fix stores the way that we've been fixing them lately, and we only want people that understand what it is we're trying to do, and we're trying to fix the store and make it healthy. We're not trying to train.
Yeah.
Like, training doesn't stick. We have to create systems and get the people math has to work. You torture service advisors by asking them to sell more when you can't get the work done. It's just not even logical. And so these are the sort of things that we run into that just aren't logical, that you know, we just have to screen for this sort of stuff. And so we would never be a fit for that guy. I wouldn't take his money.
No, it wouldn't be successful. The focus wasn't on the results.
No.
It was more on the time that we would be in the store.
While it's losing money. It just makes no sense.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing that even made me want to take the call with the guy is I see a financial statement that's losing money and I want to fix it.
Yep.
It's just, you know, I don't know, because it's fun. It's fun to fix stuff. But unfortunately, you have to have a partner on the other side that wants it fixed. And too many times, the reason why they're in the situation they are is them. Like wherever they go, there they are.
Yeah.
They're the same people, whether they hire us or not. You know, so you have to admit your kid is ugly or we can't help you, basically.
Sad truth.
Yeah. Yeah. So funny. What did you think about that call?
I thought it was a healthy discussion. I would hope that they would process what was, I actually feel like you kind of gave them a gift. You showed him the mirror a little bit.
Yeah.
And hopefully
I could have fed his ego. I could have said, oh, an important guy like you should hire us. We'll do it. You know.
No, I think that's what most people would do. That's what consultants
I don't want
to
to sell him.
Yeah,
I don't
consultants
want
would
to sell.
totally do that. Yeah.
That's the worst thing. Okay, so I've made a list. I kind of went over some of these with you, Hogi. I don't know, Adam, if you heard any of that. You were too busy smoking cigars and drinking.
Oh, thanks, bud.
Poor Adam's getting a reputation. What is the reputation you're getting from being on the show? Because now people see you and they're like,
it's
oh,
mostly
Adam.
probably hunting. It's hunting, or I've had a couple times for my driving. Apparently, we'll see. We'll see when we take the show on the road what may
I
take.
told him he's shaping up to be a pretty good punching bag.
Yeah, it's all right. Waymo's
That's
good.
not the intention.
But it's all in
Waymo.
love.
I've gotten questions about Waymo. Yes.
Oh yeah, didn't you guys just have a Waymo experience?
No, I don't want to talk about Waymo.
No, come on. So
I'll give him one more shot. I'll give him one more
A,
shot.
a couple of Adam's friends came into town that they own, I don't know, run software for big fleets. Two really cool guys. We went to, I'm a member of the cigar club here in LA. We went there. It just so happened the basketball game was on, which was great. But we smoked cigars and hung out. And I drove everybody there, but because I live closer to there, you guys were gonna have to Uber back. And I didn't think that you would take a Waymo from Beverly Hills to downtown LA just because it seems kind of far to me.
Yeah.
But you guys
Wanted
at
to
the
try
end
it.
of the night were like, nope, we're taking a Waymo. And I was like, okay,
I wanted to show our guests a
Hogi,
good time.
tell us, you call the Waymo. Does Waymo have its own app?
Yeah, it has its own app, and so
So you dial up the Waymo.
yeah, there's 4 of us, and so I want to make sure because I knew one of us would have to sit in the driver's seat, and in the driver's seat there's
But there is room for 3 in the back.
there is, and I guess that's
tight-
what it
a
was.
tight one.
It's like the back seat of a Porsche.
Yeah, like it would have been
Oh.
snug. But
Somebody sitting on the lap.
yeah, so I enter in the chat like, can there be 4 riders on one, at a
And
time?
the
or
AI
whatever?
said, of course.
Yeah, no problem. So as soon as we get in, then the guy comes on and it's pulling itself over and everything, and he's like, "One of
Ends up you can't be
Get
in
out,
the,
abort
Yeah.
mission.
So even though there's no driver, you can't be in the driver's
Nope,
seat.
can't be in the driver's seat.
So how far did you get with the Waymo? How far out of Beverly Hills did you get?
Oh, not around the corner.
Yeah.
Okay,
Like 100 feet.
here we go. So then you call an Uber,
Yeah,
and then you guys wanted a nightcap, so you were going to keep going.
yeah.
Which is hilarious because I was done, and
Yeah.
you guys kept going. So how many more drinks did you have at the bar you went to?
Just 2.
Yeah.
2?
2.
Oof.
So we went to the rooftop, and then the night's up, and for whatever reason, like
We
we're
go
like,
back to the Waymo
We'll
app.
go back to.
I
we were
will
leaving.
admit, I said, hey, we should it's only a couple miles. Let's take
Yeah, it'll
a,
be fine.
yeah, it'll be all right. No.
And
To make a very long story short, the Waymo took you guys into an alley where there were
a bunch of people that looked like they wanted to hurt us.
but there was some sort of drug deal going down.
There was definitely something going
And
down.
then you guys decided to abort in the alley and get out and run the other way.
We walked very fast. We didn't want to drive too much more attention, but it was already there.
But for some reason, the Waymo decided to go down a dark alley
And just kind of stop. And so
because people were standing in the middle of the alley doing,
whatever
Stuff.
they were doing.
yeah, doing stuff.
Congregating.
And so
Discussions.
you guys hightailed it the other way. But still, we would this afternoon, we would pull up the Waymo app and
I'm
we
done.
would.
Adam says he wants to give him another.
Maybe. Or maybe we did talk about this. It depends on the time of day.
So are we learning the lesson the hard way, or how would we describe this experience of learning that maybe people are better than machines?
Oh yeah. I mean, there's always risk with people.
It was never a question for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gives you a good experience.
Yeah.
Think
you've grown from this experience?
We were talking about it.
How much cheaper is it?
It's significantly cheaper. Probably. Yeah.
Well, you guys should keep
trying. Keep trying.
Save us money. You can run.
Chris is like, no, I got the Uber Black. You guys can go in that one.
Okay, so let's go through my list of things that I've observed or learned over the years. And just a reminder to everybody, we're starting the Service Drive Revolution Academy today at 11. If you're not signed up on demand, go to chriscollinsinc.com, click on demand, sign up, and we will get you in there. Today we are talking about the setup, what you're going to learn, mindset, and getting some feedback from you also. But things that I've observed and learned in my last 35 years in dealerships. First one is that people have to want it. You can't change people.
Yeah.
I've spent a lot of time trying to change people that didn't want to be changed. I've spent a lot of time seeing the potential in people that they don't see in themselves. And at the end of the day, it almost becomes abusive in a sense, because they get deeper and deeper into their nonsense, and we get further and further away from what we are there to do, which is help customers and run a healthy business.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it becomes about them.
Yeah.
It's not about the customer. It's not about the business. It becomes about them. The more pressure, the more expectation that's on the wrong people.
Yeah.
It gets very unhealthy.
Yeah.
And so, when we're hiring people too, I think that's one thing that I've learned about hiring is it isn't about liking the person. Like, I might like somebody in an interview. In fact, it's rare that I interview somebody that I don't like, but they might not be a fit for what we're trying to do in that way, right?
Yeah. 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 I think people struggle with that a lot too. Like, we get the question a lot, from dealers, and then even sometimes from managers about a service advisor, but a lot from dealers about their service manager that, and I think we've talked about this before, but like, hey, I don't know if, Mr. or Miss Service Manager is the guy or the gal for the job or whatever.
They don't like people.
Yeah. That's the
hide in their
service
office.
Advisor that sits by the door.
I hide in my office.
Can you fix them?
But we always say, give us that person. And like, let's, cause a good portion of the time, it always surprises us, who works out and who doesn't. And, but really kind of the test for it is, you give them a couple of things and they usually tell you who they are and if they're going to do it. And sometimes you like them, but deep down, they're not going to do it.
Yeah.
And it can become this,
so people are trying to tell us who they are, and we don't listen. Why do we think that is? Why don't we listen? Because you can always look back. Whenever we've made a bad hire, you can always look back and go, the signs were always there. We just overlooked them for some reason, right? So one reason is we just need people, right?
I was going to say the pressure.
Yeah,
there's multiple
to fill the spot.
Yeah, pressure of filling the spot. I would even go back to...
So it requires a lot of discipline.
Well, I'd see what you said right here is people have to want it. Sometimes I feel like we want that person more than that person wants the actual opportunity or role.
We see the potential.
Yeah, and they can't see it within themselves. Or like what really comes to mind is it almost, the more you dig in deeper to help expose that to, in a good way for them to want to flourish, it's more of a detractor. They run the other way. Yeah. That's what the scary part about it is. But yeah, it's wanting them more in the position than they want it.
Next one that I have is management versus leadership. So growing up in the car business, you go to leadership training. And there's a lot of leadership trainers out there. what I started to observe when I started fixing service departments and interacting with dealers is I rarely ran into a leader. Most people are managers, especially dealers are running a franchise, right? So a car franchise, Ford is creating the car, BMW is creating the car. They're just running a business that is basically outlined by the franchise. It's like running a McDonald's. Nobody running a McDonald's is a leader in a way. Now, a car dealership is more complicated than a McDonald's, but at the end of the day, it's very rare that a dealer or that a sales manager or a service manager in the business is a leader. It's very rare. And even to the point, I mean, it's funny, my I Am Leader book has sold a ton and not many people in the car business buy it because it's way too lofty for where people are at mentally in that way. But I always felt like the conversation of leadership was, we were using the term wrong. Like we're giving ourselves more credit than we deserve in calling it leadership training. Yeah. Like most leadership training is management training. Leadership is a completely different thing.
I think it's used just for marketing.
Yeah.
Marketing to sell whatever clickbait or stuff up there. Like, hey, I want to be a leader. I want to be that. Well, I'm going to click on that. And then whatever I do, I'll be able to, the self-help stuff, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And so, you know, if you wanted to define leadership is getting other people to do something, you know, counter to their own self priorities in service of a mission, right? It's followership. You're creating followership in people in a mutual agreed upon mission. It's a very hard thing to do. And, yeah. So that's one. You guys have any other thoughts on that one or?
Well, I just think like when I think of the way people talk about leadership, like it's a kind of like you guys are saying, like there's a lot of feel good things, and you talk about concepts and but like at the end of the day, it's like more like working out or something. Like you can talk about it, but there's the person that's doing it, there's evidence that they're doing it, and you don't need to talk about it or ask about it, or they're a student of it, and then it shows. And so they're not the ones posting all the stuff to LinkedIn about like,
that's a really good point.
That's just the way I always think about it. And but it's actually really, really hard in practice. It's really, really hard to even be effective, you know, in some of the smallest capacities with it. It's just, it's you know, it's an iceberg thing where 99% of the people are talking about the tip of the iceberg above the water, and real leadership is all the base of it below.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
Nobody, you know.
Well, it's so hard.
It's yeah, I mean, we could talk about that all day
if
we wanted to, but that's what you see for sure.
The next one is things travel in packs. And this is just like one of those laws of nature, right? Like, it's just for a simple example, if somebody is late all the time, if you followed them home, their house is probably messy. They probably don't keep their promises. Like, people aren't usually, it's not one isolated thing that's the problem. It's the whole of the person that's the problem. And in some of the interrogation training that I've been in is, you know, body language and the pronouns people use and the words. One trigger isn't enough. You need to see a pattern of 3 or 4 different ones to then assume that somebody is guilty. So, you know, it takes a little time, right? Like if somebody is talking about, well, a good example is like Bill Clinton when they said, did you have sexual relations with that? Or I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Yeah.
What does that tell you when he says that?
That he did it?
No, so it's very psychopathic. Does he not know her name?
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
It isn't. I didn't have sex with Monica. It's I did not have relations with that woman. He's dehumanizing her.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And
You're
it's
right.
it's separating, right? And he's almost talking about it in the third person. So if somebody talks about themselves in the third person, they're dehumanizing the other person. Like all of those things add up, but it isn't one isolated thing. And so, you know, when somebody's running a business and they're losing money in one department, there's a pretty good chance, like we say this, that you can tell by the financial what's going on. The receivables probably aren't tight.
Yeah.
Customers probably aren't getting help. Like it isn't going, just losing money isn't
Yeah.
That's the symptom, not the cause. There's a bunch of other things behind
For
that
sure.
that are the problem.
There was some, I forget who you told me said it, but as a technician, it made me think of how true it was. But you can tell a lot about a person by looking inside their car.
Yeah.
And I always thought that as a tech, like you get people's car, like, you know, and when you sit in someone else's car in the driver's seat and pull it into the shop, like you've entered their world. And and you
it
learn a
matches their
lot about a
personality,
person,
too.
especially when you start taking a car apart. Like I've learned more about people in their glove box than they would ever care to know I know about them.
Yeah.
And but it is true, like, yeah.
Same thing with the pronouns they use.
Yeah.
You know, I versus them.
Yeah.
You know, they're deflecting.
Yeah.
Like it's funny when somebody works in a business and it's they. They're talking about management as they, like they're not a part of the business.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, all of those things.
I am not
they
a
travel in
reflection.
packs.
Yeah, I'm not a reflection of what they are doing.
And then you could safely assume that person probably isn't going to take responsibility for the customer that didn't get helped, for calling people back. They travel in packs, and we just don't think that way. We think they're isolated incidents, but you pull one shoebox out of the closet and they all come falling down.
Yeah.
In a way. So things travel in packs. Indifference is a decision. Like not doing anything is as much of a decision as doing something. It's a very strong signal. Then how mimetic people are. So mimetic means following others, and we're all mimetic. We grew up basically learning from others. That's how we create our personalities. It's how we develop, is by watching others. But people in the car business are super mimetic. And over the years, I've endured some pretty big fights and people attacking us in a way that doesn't make any sense whatsoever, because we fought against the mimetic side of things in the service of actually running a healthy, profitable business. And I'll just give you a couple examples. When everybody was going to a digital inspection, MPI, I adopted it in a couple stores. I tried it. It was, we were paying like $5,000 a month and I don't know what for ink and paper and doing the process. But my hours per RO went down. My efficiency in the shop went down and my expenses went up because I was paying for all this stuff. And I just realized that paper works way better. It was hard for the techs to go to a computer and do the inspection.
Yeah.
And then you had to wait for parts. And then you would email this estimate to the customers, and the customers would just call around and shop it because it had the price. So you weren't selling any value. There were so many things wrong with it. But the manufacturers were pushing the dealers to do it. So I remember BMW specifically, because I had a grip of BMW stores that I was working with, and I'd said, I tried it in a couple stores, it didn't work, and so I wasn't doing it. And BMW, the first thing they did is they wanted to introduce me to the company that did the MPIs or whatever. I forget the name of the company. That Les Silver guy owned it, right? And so then I'm nice to them or whatever, but I'm just like, it doesn't work. And if you want to pay me to fix your thing, I'm happy to talk to you, but I don't know that I could fix it because it's just fundamentally flawed. Like form equals function. Just what you're trying to do doesn't work. But the thing is, people in the car business love software. They love a Band-Aid. They love the magic pill that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And so we did an audit of my stores where we were doing it with paper and the stores with the MPI, and we were selling twice as much per RO as they were. Like all the measurables, shop efficiency, everything was better than that, And so then it was like, well, then let's just attack Chris because, we don't want anybody else on his program, because even though they're making more money on his program, we're the manufacturer. We want adoption. We want compliance more than anything else, right? And the same thing happened with tablets. So I don't know how many times dealers are like, "Oh, we're getting tablets," and I'm like, "Why? Like, what? Where's the proof that those make it a better experience for the customers and you sell more?" Here's my experience with tablets. Your hours per RO go down. You got they don't work. Somebody's sitting there staring at a tablet and not interacting with the customer.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's faster. Customers are going to be in and out. Customers don't want to be in and out. Customers are saying they want to be in and out because the experience is so bad. Fix the other stuff, and they don't want that. It's the torture that we're putting customers through that makes you think that is the magic pill. It isn't the magic pill.
Yeah.
So tablets were that. The MPIs were that. I mean, there's been a bunch of different examples where I've had to go toe to toe with the manufacturer. And then the second one that I have coming off of that is the manufacturers do not care about the profitability of the dealers.
That is true.
So we have always been a company that is for the dealers and helping them be profitable. We really struggle doing anything with manufacturers because manufacturers want compliance, whether it works or not. And I mean, I've been asked to talk at, functions with manufacturers, and we'll get to the Q&A part. I remember this Ford meeting where there's Ford executives right there. And these guys are like, how do we make a quick-lube profitable? And, Ford is forcing everybody to do these quick-lubes.
Yeah.
And the dealers are like, the more we adopt the quick-lube, the more money we lose. And I'm like, yeah, it doesn't make any sense the way you guys are doing it. And I'm like, and I just said, like, if you guys want me to come to Detroit and explain to you how to do it right, where the dealers can make money, they didn't care. Nobody called me from Ford. They're just like, don't have that Chris Collins guy back, because they do not, some of the manufacturers, literally, I've been in meetings with manufacturers, they begrudge the dealers making money. They think the dealers make too much money, they're too entitled, and they do not care about them running a healthy business. They care about compliance. Then the problem that happens is the manufacturers have so much turnover. It's a different thing every quarter, every year, that the dealers just get punch drunk.
Call it flavor of the day.
Yeah. And so it's this weird tension that happens where you end up pretending like you're doing the quick lube when the manufacturer's there, and then you go back to the thing that actually works.
And that's
just how it is.
That's just not healthy for even the teams and the culture, because it's like you're just trying to conform in whatever the next program is. And
nobody will come out and say what is true. A quick lube is the worst experience for the customer. You have your least talented people touching the most cars. You're running them through like cattle. You have it's not set up for any sort of additional work. You're not mentoring those techs to become anything else. Your turnover with Toyota and these brands that really push the quick lube thing is something like 60% with the quick lube techs in an environment where those techs are worth, they're gold to us. We want them to become technicians down the road and to stay with us. And the quick lube system doesn't feed that. And nobody calls it what it is. And if you had a system where you mentored those guys to become better techs, where they became a C tech in a year or so, and in 2 years they were going flat rate, you had a better customer experience, you sold more, it was better for the customer because they're not all waiting in one line, you're spreading it out.
Well, and worse, like a lot of times when customers are showing up, when there's the separate express line and stuff like that, it's just a constant, it's so painful to watch because all day long they're shuffling customers because the customer's in the wrong line. The customer doesn't know, even if they've been coming there for 10 years, like, I don't know what, last time you moved me to this line, and like, oh yeah, well, it's just,
in the peaks and valleys. It's like they're either super busy or they're dead.
Yeah.
No matter what, you always wait a long time though.
Yeah.
It's not
the other
quick.
one mimetic that is funny. So we talked about tablets, about MPIs, about quick-lube. Funny one is paying advisors on gross. Like nobody can explain to me why they do that, but they go to a 20 group meeting and somebody presents that they're paying their advisors in gross. And then all the, we keep going into these dealerships where they're paying advisors on gross and the advisors don't even know what gross is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like the strategy is let's confuse them. And what happens is we're telling the service manager, get us more gross, get us more gross. So it just seems logical that then you would pay advisors on gross.
Yeah.
But you get more gross by paying advisors on sales. Gross is controlled by the way we dispatch the work and the techs that we hire and what we charge for it. That's what controls gross. We're doing that, not the advisor.
Yep.
We just want the advisor making friends with customers,
Connection,
communicating with them.
Yeah.
It's way, way simpler. And advisors perform better when they understand their pay plan. But everybody went to a gross, pay the advisors on gross. Nobody can explain why.
I think that's a lot of times when I have that conversation where the flip happens in people's minds is it's crazy how many advisors you can go to in the industry and you can be like, hey, I heard you guys had a great month last month. Like, yeah, it was a record month. I was like, yeah, I did think it did really good. I'm like, oh, what was your paycheck? Well, I have no idea. They haven't given me my wash sheet yet. And so like if we know success is attracted to clarity, then like they should be able to take their pay plan and calculate their own, but yeah, it's a funny thing trying to zoom out and connect those dots.
Another one is that we need more traffic. So we understand, like fundamentally, you could be talking to a dealer or service manager, and you could say, "So in a Honda store, what should our hours per hour be?" And they'll say, "Oh, well, 2 something." And what are we at? 0.8. Okay, what do you think we should do to fix that? Well, we need more traffic.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? We do not need more traffic. What we need to do is get to 2 hours a ticket. And then maybe we need, but what happens is invariably every time they stop talking about traffic when they get to 2 hours a ticket. It's like, why would we want to run faster, create more chaos, touch more points, have more keys we could lose, like more lot damage. Like we just want more, and not just slow down and do it right and create something scalable. And that's another mimetic thing is like, we just think, well, more money is more traffic. It's not.
Yeah.
Less traffic and do better with the traffic you have is the secret.
Yeah.
in the system.
Yeah. The system for sure. Advisors are salespeople. So I think I have an idea how this came about. So I believe that at the beginning of sales training, there were a couple main salespeople that were the sales trainers, and somebody at NAD or somebody said, "Hey, you're not that good of a sales trainer, and we already have these guys we're going to endorse. Why don't you train advisors?" Because it's very clear, like the advisor training that I grew up on is sales training that is laid over the top of advisor training. But advisors are not salespeople. They're a hybrid. If you think that an advisor is a sales, like that is their only function as a salesperson, they're a communicator. Selling is the easiest part.
Yeah.
The reason why we don't sell in a service department is because of our systems and our communication. Whenever somebody says, "Hey, can you teach my advisors how to overcome objections?" I'm like, "No, but we can fix your system so there aren't objections." Like the reason why people are objecting is because they don't trust you. You can't talk them out of that. If somebody needs brakes, they need brakes. What explain to me how I would overcome that objection. You need brakes and you don't want to do your brakes.
Yeah.
Like, what am I going to say that what you're saying is, I don't trust you. I don't like you. I don't want to do it here. You might be saying it's too expensive, but that's rarely the case, but it does happen. But there's no overcoming objections. The more product knowledge and the more you talk about viscosity of brake fluid, the less you sell.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the best things that ever happened to me was during college. I got a job at an independent shop, and this husband and wife owned this shop. They were a part of the community in this small suburb of Fort Worth, Texas, and but I just remember. Like as I started working with him and started doing a little bit more, he would give me a little bit more responsibility as I got better with certain things, and got to the point where like at an independent, like everybody's everything. You wear every hat. You're a parts person. You're the technician. You might be working on something and the phone rings and you go grab the phone with dirty hands. Somebody walks in, you go greet the customer. Like everybody does everything. And But that was one thing in presenting to customers was I was like, I don't know if I'm comfortable selling stuff. And he's like, you're not selling anybody anything. You're just telling them what their car needs and care that they get taken care of. Like it was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Made it easier.
Going into this industry was to get to view it from that lens first. Yeah, you're just there to take care of people and tell them what their car needs.
You're a matchmaker more than you are a salesperson.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
And so, in that advisor training when I was younger, where they're like, you ask at the cash, you ask 5 times. It's like, I tried that and people hated me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this training doesn't, they don't understand what writing service is. It's matchmaking. It's not selling.
Yeah.
If they're not buying, it's because they don't like us, or, they're truly broke, or they just, when you're an advisor, you also do that. Like, okay, do you want to make an appointment for 3 weeks out when you get your paycheck? You're an advisor. You're facilitating more than anything else.
Yeah.
Another one is just how important the financial is, and nobody knows how to read the financial. Like it's the best kept secret in the industry, even though it's how we're judged. Like if you're a manager running a department, you are judged on the profitability of your department, and nobody talks about how to get profit in a way that makes any sense. It's this big mystery. It's like a trick bag.
Yeah, it really is. I thought we were getting better too. Like I've been saying in these new client boot camps, the last couple of years, it seemed like we were getting more and more people that were getting to boot camp, and it wasn't the first time they'd seen the financial. And I've been talking to them about that. I'm like, hey, I think we're efforting better in the direction of getting the financials for the respective departments into the hands of the managers that are running them. And but man, the last like few months, I feel like we've gone backwards again. Like there's a lot of managers that, and maybe I just had a bad read on it for a while. But
you just the fact that I go back to things travel in packs. The fact that the average service department barely breaks even in our industry tells you that they're not looking at the financial because there's so much talent. It's never a boot camp in here and you're like, this guy's dumb.
Yeah.
No, it's like he just doesn't have the tools. Once you give him the tools and they understand the financials, but the manufacturers don't care about profit.
Nope.
So the manufacturers aren't training anybody on Isn't that a crazy thing that the manufacturers don't train managers how to run a healthy, profitable department?
Well, even the definition.
That's proof in and of itself.
The definition of a healthy dealership. What I've came across is what an OEM might think about healthy dealership is programs. It's not even the profitability of the dealership. 100%.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times when you're talking financials too, it's a funny thing where they're like, well, Nissan, and not to pick on Nissan because lots of them do it, but like, Nissan wants us to look at our CP effective labor rate without quick-lube in it. Like what is?
You can do that, but you got to look at it with it in there too.
Yeah.
You got to tell the whole story.
Look at it both ways. Yep.
It's interesting to look at it separately, but you want, like, in a pricing strategy, in a real system, you want something that drives traffic, and then you want something where you hold the gross. And so you have to have a balance of both. But if you just look at one, you're looking at the world through rose-colored glasses because you're like, oh, my effective labor, it's $250. But when I add in oil changes, it's 92.
So I think that's
keep doing the quick lube.
right. And I'm like, well, can we look at your profitability without quick lube? Is that how we want to?
You're writing 2,000 ROs and 1,800 of them are quick lube. That's working. You got to walk. If somebody wants something really done to their car, you got to walk them to another shop and hand them off to another advisor.
Yeah.
And that's time. Yeah. That's decision, like even entering decision fatigue. Like, yeah, client doesn't want to come over there. Customer's like, how do I stay away from the dealer? You give me an estimate, I'll run to across the street and as an independent. That's why they're eating their lunch.
A system is what it does.
Mm-hmm.
I love that quote.
So great.
The system is what it does.
Yep.
Like that's it. Okay, so on that note, talking about financials, that's going to be the start of the Service Drive Revolution Academy. Is helping you understand the financials, where the leverage is. And it's going to be, it's going to be a lot of fun. Once again, if you're not in there, chriscollinsinc.com, sign up for on demand. But we're going to now take a break and set up. If you're in the Zoom, we will just pick up. Maybe we'll play some music for them or something in the time being. And then we'll start right at 11. If you're not, hopefully you find your way to on demand on the website and get in there. We'd love to have you as a part of the community, but this is going to be a lot of fun. Congratulations, gentlemen. This is our first live.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have no idea how we did because I can't really see comments or anything. People could be like, oh, Adam, he's a drunk. Waymo. What kind of things could they be saying
Waymo
about
one more time? I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
They asked me, they were like, which chat do you want to see? LinkedIn or Facebook or YouTube? I'm like, I don't know.
It all depends. We'll figure it out.
Yes. That's
It's going to be fun.
Yes.
We'll learn a lot from each other.
Yeah. Super fun conversation though. And we will, we'll see everybody in the Zoom here in just a couple minutes. And everybody else, hope you have a great week. We'll see you next time on Service Drive Revolution. Thanks so much for watching this episode of Service Drive Revolution. We're uploading new stuff every day, so make sure you subscribe and click the bell icon so you don't miss out. If you have a question you'd like us to answer on the show, call 8333-ASK-SDR and we'll answer your question on the show. That's 8333-ASK-SDR. For special deals on our books and training, head over to offers.chriscollinsinc.com. Now that's offers.chriscollinsinc.com. I'm Chris Collins, and I'll see you in the next video.